Joe 200, what's up? All right, so September 15th, it's Sunday, 2024, and we are officially going to be entering the fourth week of classes. That means everybody was going to add the classes added the class, which is awesome. You guys talked it up to your friends. Best class you're ever going to take, for sure, guys. And so this is, every lecture that I give like this, um, I do bring everybody up to speed so you know where we're at. So you see me, I always start with my own Brightspace page. This is a 100% online, 100% asynchronous. You do it at your own speed. And we have structured the Brightspace to make this incredible learning environment. So yeah, it's just like every single day, I put fruit and veggies out on the table. And when you eat them, you're healthier. You still can go on to the next day and not eat them, okay? But you're better off if you do, and that's what this class is all about. All right, how's that for an analogy? Here's my two classes in my fall lineup of classes. So I'm going to go straight to our class, okay, which is GERO 200, the Science of Adult Development, okay? Now, what we have here are Brightspace tips. Within this Brightspace tips, we're leading up to an assignment that is due for you right here, okay? It's right around the corner, September 25th, okay? So I did a little how-to lecture right there, how to go about gathering the data, okay? Making figures, and then having a two-page report that supports the figures that you put either embedded into the paper or at the end of the paper, okay? Super fun to be able to gather your own data. And you can, as you'll see in my own video, you can choose countries that actually have some personal meaning to, which is kind of neat, all right? All right, so that's June the 25th, okay? It's got to be on time, okay? Treat this just like a job, okay? If your boss says, I need this on Monday, you can't give it to him on Thursday, all right? So every day you're late, you get 10% off, all right? So this is why I want you to calendar this up. It's, you got 10 days, it's all good, but it's important to understand that, all right? Within our Brightspace tips, okay, and then at the very bottom, we have how-to folders right here, and I'm actually going to move this guy up to the top. We explained what you need to do to upload papers. It's an automatic function, okay? In fact, what I can do right here is this shows you how to do this paper. I can go straight into my table of contents. And for the guys that are new, okay, basically you have a table of contents that is right here. And that it is duplicated in a visual table of contents on the right-hand side. You see it right there, okay? You can get in there either way. So we're going to be going into, we did generations for last week. We're going to be going into the biology rating. You'll see this is important, okay? And we're going to give it to you with a kind of a reality show kind of situation where we're going to look at how age-related disease are the most often seen diseases, their economic impact, and then we're going to look at economic opportunity as well from our B majors, okay? So we saw the visual table of contents. I can come right down here, table of contents, okay? Basically, Brightspace has a memory. So I was in here looking around at the CTs earlier. So it took me to that part of the table of contents. You see that is right here. You can see right here, it's got this kind of shaded blue-gray, and that tells you where you're at, okay? When the time comes, your midterms are right in here. You have two of them. We'll give you plenty of announcements there. When the time comes, you want to do extra credit, you upload it right there. Okay. Here's the welcome and an introduction. If you're new to Brightspace, okay, you can come and check that out, all right? Here's the welcome and introduction, right? And it tells you everything that's going on right here. You just click on it, and it says right here, how to get an A. All right, that's the little video I put together along with all kinds of really great suggestions that Julia put together, all right? All right, so that was the table of contents. So we can go back here or here. So you see there's lots of redundancies, okay? So I'm gonna go back to my table of contents, okay? And then we're gonna scroll down to the CT1 where we were at before. And the reason I'm doing that is if it's time and I wanna upload my paper, here's all the instructions right there, everything you need to know, okay? There's the rubric and how we grade it. Here's the kind of figures you're gonna generate. It's really, really clear. That's the second writing assignment. I'm not gonna talk about that right now, okay? All righty, we call them critical thinking assignments, okay? You want to go in there and actually submit, okay? You click right there. All right, awesome. Okay, now it's to say, so all that information was listed. Here it is in the actual body of this of the writing description, okay, of the assignment, which you have to do. Here's a slide deck that tells you how to do it, and then here's my my video that tells you how to do it. When it all comes down, okay, we'll go through all this stuff. I want to submit my paper. You just go hit upload, okay. It's going to go into my computer, all right, and you just click on the document, okay, and you upload it. Don't use pages files. We can't read it. And when you upload it, it automatically puts it in to turn it in for us. Bada bing. Okay, cool. All right, so that's pretty much it. If you have something you want to tell us, you put it in the comment page right there. All right, let's go back, okay? So I'm going to go back to my table of contents. All right, and we're going to come through here. Like I said, this is where we're at. We're going to look at everything we've been building towards. So we told you globally why aging is so important. There's so many people, okay, that are over the age of 65. So many people over the age of 50, which I know is totally old for you, okay? And we looked at the global implications, okay? We have to look at it in terms of the support networks is there, the cost of these support networks, okay? So we were talking about how a lot of European countries have guaranteed their version of Social Security. These are pensions, okay, that were oftentimes guaranteed at a very young age. You would retire at age 50, and then if you lived to 90, you had 40 years of guaranteed income, and it's created huge problems for them economically. Okay, we also know that when we look at the expenditures in terms of medicine, 90% is for people over the age of 65. Okay, and so then we have this guarantee of healthcare that is in a lot of the countries in Europe. Okay, Belgium and Netherlands. How do they guarantee all this? They have higher taxes. Okay, all righty. So, and we have our own issues. Ours is Social Security, okay, based on your work history. We'll go over that, and then we have Medicare that is subsidized by the government, so it's a lot cheaper, but you still have certain expenses that we'll talk about. Okay, but it's a big deal. Okay, so that's why it's so important. Okay, we went into making social predictions, economic predictions. Okay. You're going to start a business, you want to look and see where the populations are, who your target audience is. That's why this is important. And then, the biggest expense when we look at our outgoing money for our, again, it's just like a bank account, the gross domestic product. So if you're an econ major, you hear it talked about. This is the financial well-being of our country. So this is all of the that's money that's coming in through wages and salaries, all the money that's coming in through manufacturing, all the good, positive dollars, okay? And then there's the expenses, and the big expense is paying for disease, and these are the big diseases, so this is making up so much of our country's expenses. Paying for cancer treatment, paying for diabetes, and diabetes is like all the spokes on a wheel, okay? You have diabetes, and boom, you're at risk for so many diseases, kidney failure, blindness, cancer, okay? Every type of vascular disease, which is heart failure, stroke. So it's a big deal, okay? And then if we keep you along through all this, and then we have Alzheimer's disease and other form of dementias, which, again, after the age of 85, 1 in 3 people have it, which is, that's, a lot of expenses. I have friends who had their parents in memory care facilities, not paid by insurance, okay, and it was costing them $10,000 to $15,000 a month. Can you handle it? All right, so these are big deals. Why are these diseases of aging happening? Okay, let's get a better understanding of aging, and then maybe we'll have a better way to curtail these diseases. That's the theory. So we're going to go right into this. Okay, so we love having supportive graphics, okay? And again, we are beating evolution. Do remember, okay? We were supposed to reproduce, we'll get into it when we go into our discussion right now. You guys in your 20s, you should have 3, 4, 5 kids right now, okay? That's what we're designed for, okay? Your kids then grow up, and they are able to fend for themselves by the time you're in your early 30s, and then boom, you get picked off. Okay, maybe make it to 40, and then a mountain lion or a bear eats you. Okay, because that's the way we were designed. Okay, this is millions of years. Okay, and and uh, and then suddenly we've changed the course of mankind in the last couple hundred years. Okay, so now we're able to not get rid of the old people. Okay, they are able to survive into much older age. Okay, so now why is this happening? Why do we age? Okay, so we're going to look at all these concepts. This is a limitation in our stem cells that we'll learn about. Okay, and this connects then to genes that control us, so that you guys, as you become bigger and stronger developmentally, there's genes that also get influenced. Okay, genes are just the recipes to make proteins. Proteins are make your cells healthy or not healthy. How they change with aging. Okay, something that's good for you early on can be bad for you later in life. Let's give it a horrible scientific name. Antagonistic. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, we can see antagonism everywhere. Okay, pleiotropy means that it's something that makes you youthful, makes it so that you're much more likely to evolutionarily to have kids. That same driving force is what, at least in part, can push you into an aging kind of trajectory. All right, all righty. Within that idea, we see this disposable soma. Who cares? Okay. Anyways, if we go into an area where we're not growing and being driven to reproduction, we contain our resources so that we protect ourselves. That's what that's all about. If you don't, you get mutations. Okay. How do you do that? One way to do that is through diet and exercise. We'll see what that can do, okay, in terms of linking to these other ideas. And again, if you don't have this, then the trajectory to aging gets accelerated, and that's what this is all about right here. All right, anyways, too much there, okay? So what's the format for my new friends, okay? So the new format is this lecture is going in right here, okay? I'll email it out to you as well. You could open up the quiz into a second window. You're gonna have 5 quiz questions. You can take this together in a group of friends, in a room with friends. It doesn't really matter. The quiz questions are drawn from a pool. So you'll be sitting there with your buddy and you're going to get different questions. You might get one the same, but you're going to get different questions. But that's okay. You can sit there and work together and try and answer these questions on the quiz. All right? You can drop the lowest grade on your quiz, which is awesome. Okay, so don't worry about that. And then you're supposed to give a discussion. With the discussion, you're going to see there's a prompt. Okay, so this is lengthy. It goes through all kinds of stuff. It's about reproduction. Okay, and we all know as we get older, we have more and more trouble reproducing. You hear lots of talk about in vitro fertilization. Why do we even need that? Well, it's because both male and female fertility goes down when we get older. So, you're getting your act together. You go to college, you get your job, and then now you're late 30s, and I'm ready. But now you find out that because of these natural aging changes, you're not able to have children. Okay, or you have a lot of trouble. All right, so we're going to get into how our aging theory and talk about aging as it relates to your ability to have children. All right, there's a great conversation article that I want you guys to check out. How fertility drops off at the cliff at 35. You're just getting going in terms of your career. So here's a graphic on that. I'll go back to that later on. Okay, here's a crazy good website to study fertility, but also things you can do to improve your fertility, which is something that all of you, those of you that decide to have children, are going to have to tackle. Okay, all righty. This is just one really cool mechanism for examining fertility, what we'll go over. This is how IVF works, okay? So this is studying the process of in vitro fertilization. And by the way, in vitro fertilization is the last thing you're going to do because it's going to cost you about 20 grand, okay? So, and it's not covered by insurance, all right? So this is another process. It's a stepwise process that we try to do to improve your fertility, all right? And then down here, this is looking at male issues, okay? The age of the father, so the paternal influence on fertility, but also on terms of whether or not the child that you produce has any issues. Okay, so this in particular was looking at psychiatric issues, and you can see the age of the father. These are different cohorts I'll explain later on. But you see this increase in terms of problems. Look at that ADD in terms of age of father. Thanks, Dad. Okay. All right. So, and then you discuss, here's the prompt at the bottom. You go through all the stuff and then you kind of let loose. You do your primary prompt to your exposure to the information, and then you have to prompt 3 additional times to get full credit. 3 times where you look at somebody else's prompt and you say, God, I didn't think about it, but you have a great perspective on that. Or, yeah, I'm going through the same thing, whatever it is, okay? 1 plus 3, okay? All right, that's the dealio, okay? All right, let's get into the reading assignment. When I say reading assignment, it's also oftentimes we have some really cool videos that are out there that will support it as well. And this is just an example of that right here. When we look at, we're going to look at aging and how people study aging. This is an overview of some of the issues that come up with aging, some of the realities of we see these problems in terms of the way cells behave in older people, and this is why we think aging has happened. That's the whole premise of this. So it's done really clearly right here. Okay, I'm going to go through these steps right here, but the one thing I kind of wanted to do is I have a couple of things, tabs open up here, because I've been thinking about it, okay, about what is aging. First of all, we have researchers all around the world studying this. Just for the general curiosity as a scientist, and you've focused your life's work, and I want to understand aging, and then also because studying aging and studying disease go hand in hand, all right? So you really need to understand both processes. When we're studying aging, it's just like the infamous parable, okay? The blind man and the elephant, okay? And so basically, the idea is we have all these people that come up to the elephant, and they touch one part of the elephant, and they tell you what it is, all right? So this guy comes up to the trunk and says it's a snake, a big, large snake, okay? This guy comes up to the side of the elephant and says it's a wall. This guy says it's a rope, okay? On and on and on and on, okay? Because when we do research, you can't be a specialist in everything. So you specialize in this one thing. And so this is what happens in science oftentimes. So you'll see that we're going to see when I go over the material in class that oftentimes there's individual ways of describing something that might have some overlap with another group of scientists that specialize in something else. Now, of course, everybody communicates, but still you have to be able to link the ideas together from the observations, all right? So one thing we know straight up, okay? You look at Dr. Walsh's little baggy skin, okay? Something's going on there, okay? So I don't have the kind of cell division, all right, from my stem cells. I have stem cells that make new skin. Stem cells, they're going to make new stomach, new intestines, stem cells that make all of my blood cells from my bone marrow, okay? And we see that as we get older, dividing cells lose their ability, okay, to undergo cell division, okay? And part of that producing new cells, there's a whole process that pushes out and kills off all the old ones. You want to have this turnover, and you want to be able to constantly rejuvenate, okay? So what happens is you don't produce, oh, look, for the guys, come here, Lucy, come here. You guys are going to see Lucy. She's gone. She's been chasing squirrels all day today, all right? All right, so yeah, so if you're not making new cells, then these old cells stick around. They're sickly, they don't function. And now let's say here's your kidney. Because of the lack of new cells, this is its function. And now you have these sickly, what are called senescent or dead or dying cells, but they never quite die. And then you're like this. Now you got a problem, okay? All right, so what else do we see? Some really old cells, like I was saying, okay? Normally, okay, we're going to kick out the guys, kill them off, and put in new ones, okay? This is called apoptosis, okay? But the old sickly cells stick around, and so you have an accumulation of these really old, funky cells. Old and funky, okay? Special word, we have to confuse everybody. It's a word called senescent, okay? and it just takes up space in your organs and tissue, and so they don't work as well. All right. All right, so we noticed that our stem cells aren't producing, okay? We noticed there's an accumulation of these old funky cells, okay? What else do we notice, okay? We noticed that with terms of aging, there's a sweet spot, okay? A sweet spot with respect to nutrition, all right? You want just the right amount of nutrition, vitamins, minerals, protein, fats, just the right amount of sugar, etc. Okay. When we look at overnutrition, okay, we see that's not the sweet spot, and it's tied to obesity. Okay. Why do we get obese? Okay, because of our ancestors, dude. We would be roaming the hillsides for weeks, and all of a sudden, food. And what do? You eat everything that you can. Ugh, you just binge, okay? And then you produce fat. You produce all kinds of reserves in your liver, and then you go trolling around, and then you might be another week before you get a good meal, and then you binge, okay? So the idea is, yes, we're going to produce fat, but we're going to live off it, and it's going to disappear. Not when you got a 7-Eleven next door to your house, okay? That's the problem, all right? We have this overnutrition problem, and so what happens is it's tied to diseases like cancer, because cells are just dividing when they have nothing but goodies and building blocks, okay? Diabetes, because you can't hand diabetes is a reflection of, hey, we have this unlimited food coming in all the time. We can't package it anymore, okay? And then the consequence, when we look at Alzheimer's disease, that is a continuum of diabetes, and it screws up all your blood vessels, basically diabetes, and that's why Alzheimer's happens, all right? So anyways, so they get into this, and they talk about this nutrition sensor, okay? And they talk about it's just a compound inside our cells. It gets elevated when you have been fasting or exercising, okay? And it's a message to all your cells, hey, there's no food around right now. We can't make new cells. So how about we take our existing cells and just repurpose their insides and make them more badass, okay? All right? It's cheaper. It doesn't require as much energy as making new cells, so it's very cost effective to do this, all right? Alrighty, and so there's been a lot of push on this. Okay, a lot of companies making money on this ideology because of nutritional supplements. There's this guy David Sinclair that made almost $1 billion ages ago. I think it was 2008 or 9 or whatever it was. He sold the rights to his company to Eli Lilly, and then it ended up being a farce. Okay, and so you have to be weary, okay? So when we talk about this, I just wanted to bring this guy up here. Here it is, because it's under the nutritional supplements, okay? So we see all these different companies now that are pushing this stuff. Look at how much it costs for a month or 6 months or whatever it is, okay? And guess what, guys? While it seemed to work when we're looking at tissue culture in mice in some controlled setting, there's no evidence at all that this is what's necessary in humans, okay? But it's, what's happening, and this is the one of the world leaders here, and this is Elysium Health. Because it's a nutritional supplement, it's not regulated, okay? There's no Food and Drug Administration saying you can't do this, okay? So you have to be careful. But you know what? In the business world, some of you guys are going to be B majors. There's a lot of money to be made by all this, okay? Alrighty, so that's just kind of some background on that. Okay, and then again, stem cells, and there's a big push about stem cells. So that's, you hear about people getting stem cell injections and the whole concept of stem cell rejuvenation. My bone marrow, okay, is the classic example of stem cells, okay? I'm producing 200 billion new cells, 200 billion new red and blood cells totally crazy, but every single day, okay? All right, and the problem is for every decade of life that you have after about age 20 or 30, your stem cells, they kind of just exhaust themselves and don't work anymore and die off, okay? So and you can subtract the amount of stem cells on a percentage basis based on every decade you have. So I'm approaching 70, so I've got about, if I'm lucky, 40, 50% of what you guys have, all right? So that's a big issue. That's why there's so much interest in that. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we're going to go. This is right here. This chart. Okay, um, taken from Business Insider. So obviously there's business applications. I like to put the source. We can't act. We're not going to read this Business Insider article. If you have a subscription to it, you can. So it's got a paywall on it. All right, my friends. But this is what's going on right here. Okay, these are the targets that we see because this, just like I said, in terms of the blind man and the elephant, all the people that do aging research, there are some people that have looked at the very tips of our chromosomes. Every time your cells divide, okay, every time I make a new immune system cell or a new red blood cell, the stem cells that budded off and made new cells that ultimately had to go through a series of cell divisions to make my white blood cells that are immune or my red blood cells that are for carrying oxygen. That original stem cell, okay? It's called a hematopoietic stem cell in my bone marrow. The telomeres get a little shorter. And then when it's time to divide, guess what? They're slower. And then they get shorter. Then it's even slower, and then they get exhausted. All right. So we see this. I'm using bone marrow as an example. Same thing happens in my intestinal cells, my skin. Okay. Other than brain, which has a limited cell division, cardiac muscle limited, and skeletal muscle, everybody else isn't going through cell division. So it's a slow, gradual loss in these telomeres from the stem cells. You can't replace tissue as well. All right. So what is going on here? Okay. One thing that happens is when these telomeres get shorter, they protect the DNA from mutagens. Okay. What happens is my telomeres get shorter, my DNA gets more exposed, and then boom, we start getting DNA damage. Okay, that's one of the reasons. Okay, when you have DNA damage, okay, it's a damage to the recipe. Okay, it's just like a restaurant. This is the recipe to make the food. All right, now I have a recipe that's missing a page, so then the proteins that I make are wrong. The cell doesn't work as well, and you can see it just becomes this downward spiral of catastrophe. All right. Sometimes they don't die. All right, you just make crappy cells, and then they just hang in there, and they make your liver or your kidney sickly. Okay, all right. And then we have over here the energy system. Okay, we need messages. So the cells are turning over. The insides of the cells are turning over all the time. Get rid of that engine. All right, put a new engine in the cell. Okay, that's what we're doing all the time. And these are the mitochondria. If you don't get rid of that old engine, it starts spewing out exhaust. That exhaust is called free radicals that oxidize. Everybody does their acai berries, their blueberries, their kale. Why are we doing this? Because they have antioxidants, all right? So we need to do things through diet and exercise that are going to improve these guys, okay? So when you limit your calories, we make more mitochondria, okay? Because we're trying to protect that cell. We're not doing cell division, all right? On and on and on and on. So here's all these concepts, okay? And then we're identifying all these problems. What are we going to do? What can we do? Okay, here's a bunch of opportunities that are out there for us. Things that we can do, okay, things that big business is pursuing, okay. So stem cell therapies, there's companies worldwide that are investigating this concept. The problem is, okay, stem cells, when you have unlimited cell division being put into the body, is it going to cause cancer? Okay, that's an issue. Okay, that's just one of many issues. Okay, um, anti-inflammatory drugs. Okay, so those drugs that I was just showing you earlier, the NAD boosters help in terms of inflammation. Okay, but there are also all these compounds. Okay, so a lot of you are probably going to get coenzyme Q. Okay, and stuff your mouth with that, or you're going to take quercetin. Okay, these are all compounds that are found in veggies and fruit. Why not just eat veggies and fruit? Okay, that's the point right there. Stop eating so much red meat and fat and sugar. You're gonna get the same end result. Okay, um, how can we get rid of those funky ass cells that are senescent and basically dying? All right, how can we, for our stem cells, maybe make longer telomeres? Careful of cancer. Okay, we don't want to get cells that are funky have the ability to have cell division, and that's been kind of the firewall for that, okay? Epigenetics, what is that, okay? We have our genetics, it's our blueprint, all right? our blueprint of who we are. So we inherit chromosomes from mom, chromosomes from dad. That's your cookbook, okay? That's what is in every single cell, not gonna change, okay? But you can decide what chapter you're going to go to in the cookbook, and you can decide which recipes to make, okay? That's the epigenetics, okay? Turning on and off genes based on exercise, diet, stress, things like that. And it's constant, okay? Maybe we can turn on the same genes get turned on when we eat kale. That's believe it or not, that's what we do with research. Can we? Why do we have to be so fancy? Proteolytic proteins that get lysed. Okay, how can we get rid of crappy proteins? All right, right there. When we restrict our diets, you're not going to be producing insulin. You're not going to produce insulin like growth factor. I'm going to talk about that. And as a result, we're also not going to activate different proteins that cause cell division. The problem is when you have nutrition and you're doing cell division all the time, all the problems that would be repaired when you're fasting, okay, when you're not having cell division, those problems never get repaired. And you just keep pushing out cells with more and more and more problems if there's nutrition around. You can see how this is basically a fatal approach, okay? How do I get brand new mitochondria? Can we give it a name that nobody understands? How about that? Okay, new engines inside the cell, all right, to make new energy, all right? Best way to do that is limit your intake of food, eat mostly a plant-based diet, exercise. Okay, these are the key elements. Okay, awesome. So there are companies all around this. You could just be the guy that creates the unbelievable life coach nutritional website. There's all different aspects of business that support this. All right, so that's all that. That's everything you need to know there. The goal of all these guys, okay, is we're gonna keep you alive, okay? Why have a heart attack and cancer and diabetes and all, and then have this extended part of your life that sucks, okay? Full of disease, okay? Why not have extend the lifespan, be healthy, and then just have this little period that sucks? Because there's going to be time that sucks, okay? And so that's kind of the goal, all right? So you're going to live longer. You can have hopefully surf to your 85, whatever it is. That's kind of the goal, all right? Awesome. All right, so where's this all taken from? Where are we going here? Here's the actual reading assignment, okay? We can click on that sucker. It's thick, okay, and I've already gone through most of it here, all right? So I can just, scroll down here on this side. So this is put out by a big group called the American Federation for Aging Research, all right? It's supposed to be for the general public. It's hardly for the general public, but it's the best thing we got, okay? And we're going to ask questions, why do we age? How do we age, okay? Again, a lot of it is theory. When I say theory, think about this stuff, okay? All righty, blind man and the elephant, okay? Okay. So we do want to understand individual trajectories, okay? So, how can we modify the course of aging so that we're more vital and more disease-free, okay? So one of the first things that was observed, and again, this is hard to replicate in human societies, okay? But we could give a bunch of mice, a bunch of rats, and give them their rat chow or mouse chow, and let them just go to town. Eat as much you want all day long. Of course, they get obese, and they don't die. They get all these diseases, and they don't live long. They get cancer. They get their own little mousy diabetes and heart disease and everything. Okay, fine. All right. Right next door, we have a whole set of cages where we're going to limit the amount of mouse chow you get. Okay, we're going to restrict your diet, and guess what? Less disease, and they live maybe 50% longer. Okay, so that was the very first observation, and it's been pretty true across all animals studied. Okay. And it seems to be true in humans too, within limitations, just a sensible, moderate diet, like the Mediterranean diet, my friends, okay? Just don't be eating cookies and Burger King and meats, especially red meats with fat all the time, okay? It's a recipe for disaster. You mix it up with some really nutritious food, all right? Okay, so that's what they're kind of talking about right there. They talk about the calories. So that was the first observation, okay? when they went and looked inside, they were able to kind of link it to how our bodies regulate what's going on via these what are called our nutrition sensors. So we're all into sensors nowadays, okay? And I have motion detection sensors outside, all right? So I can, scare off the criminals, okay? Here's a sensor right here that tells your body, hey, I'm getting a load of sugar. I just had a candy bar, and, my candy bar happened to be a Snickers bar, so there's some peanuts, so there's a little bit of protein. So we release insulin to tell the rest of the body, there's sugar, can you put it away? Or sugar, can you use it, okay? And then this guy right here gets released by the liver that says, hey, we just had a load of protein as well. And hey, I want to increase the absorption of your cells of these amino acids so you can make new cells, okay? Or in the case of your muscle cells, make them bigger. But you got to use them for that to happen, all right? So yeah, nutrition is fine if you're exercising, but the second you stop exercising, your body just says, well, we're going to store it as fat, okay? That's the concept. So when we were looking back at those mice, what we see here is when we limited their daily nutrition levels, okay, we gave them what was called dietary restriction, okay, we saw that their insulin levels dropped and their IGF-1 levels dropped, and associated with that, then we saw that there was less disease. Okay, we can go in there and do crazy genetic things in terms of this system and see the same thing, and that's where we start getting proof in our animal models. I can genetically delete the ability to produce IGF-1, and what we see is these animals live longer. All right, so it's more proof. All right, awesome. All right, so is it programmed? Okay, is it, you look at where you were, you guys, when you were 5, 10, 15, now you're 18, 19, 20. How did that all happen? How did you grow? Why do you suddenly got hair all over your face? Why is all this changing? Okay, well, there's this program of genetics that plays out developmentally, and a lot of it has to do with the hormones interacting with your genes, on, and they just change. Okay, do we have also a program that says, okay, you've had your kids, now it's time for you to die? Okay, this is Darwinian evolution. This is what's going on, and there's no aging program, okay, that we see. All right, but it just seems as though all the things, okay, that push you to make you big and strong, okay, they get you to that point of your 20s and 30s so that you will reproduce. But if you keep pushing the system hard enough, it begins to fall apart. And that's the viewpoint that we have in terms of aging. All right, awesome. Okay, another blind man and the elephant. Okay, what do we see here in terms of looking at cells? Okay, and looking at interaction of cells, and we start seeing that in our DNA that's supposed to be fully exposed so you could read it, it's like cross-linked mutations. Okay, why does that happen? Free radicals do that from oxidation. Eat your blueberries, your antioxidants. Okay, we have natural antioxidants that get increased when you exercise. That being said, it's only going to slow the process. The process is still going to happen. Okay, so we see this observation of this weird genetic cross-linking, so the genes don't work as well, and you make funky proteins as a result. And then the other thing that we see happen is when we're looking at this cross-linking, we see that proteins that are out there can get cross-linked from oxidation and damage. And then the big one that's been observed is that we also see lots of cross-linking from sugars. Okay. And this is called glycation. I think it's up to, there it is right there. So they talk about sugar molecules. Where are they elevated all throughout your bloodstream? When you're a diabetic, okay? Because you don't produce enough insulin, or you don't have insulin receptors that work anymore because you're obese. I'm going to have a chance to get into it, but this is exactly what happens. So then you candy coat your protein, and that's what this is right here. All right, we give it a fun name called AGE, okay, advanced glycation end product. And that candy-coated protein doesn't work well. And guess what? The immune system, we have very similar but bacteria and viruses have very similar candy-coated proteins that the immune system flips out on. And so when you start getting these all throughout your body, the immune system treats it like bacteria or a virus. It flips out, and now you have global inflammation that causes disease and an acceleration in aging. So that's what that's all about. All right. Okay. So why is this all happening? Is it programmed? This is this fancy thing, antagonistic pleiotropy, meaning something that's good for now to make it so that I will find a mate and I'll have as many kids as I can possibly have. All right. Make it big and strong. Later on down the line, you can only push that system so hard, okay? And then you get into problems, all right? So again, these growth hormones that make you big and strong, you push it too hard, you're gonna have heart failure, all right? We use stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, so that I can race, run. The lion didn't get me, I live for another day of breeding. It's awesome, okay? But you do that your whole life, and you worry about things, stress. What am I going to do with my college career? Guess what happens? That same system begins to tear your body down. So what's good for now can be bad for later. And so that's, again, another example of the blind man and the elephant. Excuse me. Okay. What else have we got going on here? Okay. The mitochondria, that's the little engine, okay? That's inside your little cells, okay? You have to have a good mitochondria because this is where we make all of our energy, okay? What's happened? How do we make energy, okay? You make energy by breathing in oxygen and combining with fuel. I don't have any goodies right now. I could go guess that thing. Look at that. There's actually a muffin over there on my countertop. I could eat that, okay? Breathe in oxygen. You combine the fuel with the oxygen, and you generate the power to be who you are, okay? So I can run, I can do everything. Every cell needs this mitochondria to make this conversion. It's a credit card, basically, okay? It's like Apple Pay, all right? So, but if the mitochondria are messed up, you don't make as much of the energy, and you start spewing out byproducts of funky oxygen, funky oxidation. Yes, oxygen causes oxidation. And if you have a bad mitochondria, you're going to have big problems, cause mutations in DNA, have cells fall apart, blah, 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 blah. So if you have funky mitochondria, okay, you're going to be more likely to damage your DNA. Remember the telomeres? That's trying to protect it as well. They're unwinding, damage to DNA. So we see this, again, we see people that study DNA, an accumulation of damage in the DNA as we get older. And we have to go back to all the other things that were going on to say, God, this can contribute, this can contribute. Look at that. What are those? Okay, that's oxidation. Okay, free radicals. Eat your blueberries. All right, to give you antioxidant. If you don't, it's like just like laser beams. Okay, it's like a paintball war where you're going to destroy all the cells. That's what that's all about right there. Okay, alrighty. So and this also explains, this is where you're really just getting out there being a guy that studies aging, why different animals live for different lengths of time. Why isn't my dog is only going to live to 12? I'm going to live till I'm 90. And what's the difference? Put your ear on your dog's chest and listen to their heart rate compared to yours. It's like 2-3 times your heart rate. Right? So that's burning a lot more oxygen. That's the idea. The mitochondria are getting all hammered, etc. On and on and on. Awesome. All right, I think I've given you enough of this, okay? This is, again, the idea of for those cells that do have to replicate, cell divide, like making new white blood cells, new blood cells. The older you get, the funkier it gets, okay? The slower it gets, and as a result, my immunity sucks when I get older. That's why old people were the targets of COVID, because our immune system just cannot mount the defense that a young person's immune system can. Bottom line, all right? Okay, awesome. All right, so we're done with that, okay? And so how does this apply to real life? All right, we could go on and on and on, okay? I just chose one application in terms of real life, and we're gonna go back to our module 4. That application was, all right, so hopefully you guys did your quiz. It was right here, the discussion, okay? So this discussion goes through this concept of reproduction, okay? So we all know that we have reduced ability to make children as we get older. You know, what's going on, okay? Um, and it has to do a lot with the cell integrity, okay? So on the female side, you have your ovaries, okay? Within those ovaries, okay, every month you cycle through an egg. You're born with a limited number of eggs. You're born with about, I don't know, about a little over 100,000 eggs the day you're born, okay? And when you go through menopause, that very last egg has pushed through the system, and that's it. You're done, okay? When the egg is marching through, getting ready to be released by your ovaries, there's a whole field of cells that encircle it. It's called a follicle, and it basically undergoes cell division, cell division, cell division, and it's pumping out estrogen. Estrogen goes all throughout your body and says, hey, there's going to be a perfect egg coming out. I swear sometime in the next 3 weeks, make sure your uterus is primed for that egg so that you can now have a baby. Same deal here. It goes up, the estrogen goes up into your breast and says, time to prime them because you need to start making milk because I swear to God, you're going to have a baby. All right. That's what's going on right there, okay? What happens to cell division as we go older? It gets sucko. It gets sucko. And so that limits the fertility. A lot of the eggs don't make it through anymore as you get older, okay? We could go on and on about this, okay? And I want you guys to investigate that. Men, okay? We're constantly producing new sperm cells from stem cells, okay? Stem cells located in this special region in our testes, okay? So guess what happens, man? The stem cells start getting funky, right? The telomeres start shrinking. Guess what happens? We produce less sperm. The sperm we do produce is lower quality. Bada bing, okay? So it just really starts to plummet over the age of 40. All right, so you can see how this affects us. So we look over here at the guys. Let's look at the right side. Okay, I want to look at my guys. Okay, this is long telomeres. That's because you're 18 years of age. Here's short and funky telomeres. Okay, that's because you're 45. Okay, just think about my telomeres. Okay, alrighty. So we see right here, when we have long telomeres, okay, it's all wound up and the DNA is protected. So my genome, okay, the sperm that is passing on my genetics to the next generation is the best it's going to be, okay? We have the guys, their stem cells making the sperm, so that machinery down there is just jacked, okay? So it's producing an optimal sperm count, okay? Great quality, bada bing, all right? So you're at your best right here, all right? Into your 40s, okay? We see low sperm count. Why? All right. The cell division process is not working. All right. The telomeres are shrinking, so I can't make a new sperm cell. Okay. In addition, okay, the whole process that is responsible for protecting those stem cells and making sure they're making new good ones inside is getting funky. All right. And so now I have not only do I have low sperm count, but I'm starting to get funky DNA mutations, okay? That means I have really poor motility and quality, not good for reproduction, and really good for causing, sadly, offspring that have some genetic problems, all right? Way to go, guys. Okay, we come over here to the ladies, okay? And this is a slightly different approach to the chart, but we see when we look at examples of young women that have a longer telomere, okay? We see that you're more likely to have multiple births because your cells are dividing so quickly that you're actually putting out multiple follicles and multiple eggs, all right? You have high levels of estrogen, okay, because of all the cell division in that follicle, all right? You're going to be pumping out so many eggs in this example that you're probably going to hit menopause a little earlier, okay? So you're going to have ovarian failure, okay? And if you have, and this is like an extreme, you have too much estrogen, it is a predictor of certain cancers, okay? Bummer, okay? Here we go over here, okay? When we look at short telomeres, okay? She's got some short telomeres, okay? Postmenopausal, okay? What happens is when you're still fertile, you're going to have trouble with recurrent miscarriages, all right? Why is that? Okay, because you need to have really, really perfect cell division of that follicle when it releases the egg, and down here in the uterus, you need perfect cell division as well. So these are all examples of what's going on here. All right. So your telomere length decreases dramatically during these periods where you're still fertile. Okay, you're still ovulating, but what you're producing is not so good. All right. So in this conversation, the conversation article, and I do want you guys to check it out. Okay. So you click on this puppy right here. All right. Click on this right here. All right. She talks about her example. She's 35. Okay. And we can see right here. Okay. We see this is your fertility. All right. The number of births. Okay. This particular example was looking at married women. All right. Doesn't have to be married women. This is just their sample. And we see that the number of births, okay, that were happening per 1,000 married women plummets, okay? All right, here you are, you're an undergrad, now you're in grad school, all right? Now you got your job together, I'm ready. And look at that, you're just starting to drop to about 50%, all right? And then what else happens? We see right here that you see a lot more miscarriages. This is fancy talk. Spontaneous abortion is a miscarriage because of the cell division problems that happen when you get older. All right? Awesome. Okay. If you want to get more information on this, go to this website. All right. We're talking about fertility. Okay. It's become a political topic, right now in terms of the current presidency. Um, and and if you find that you're having trouble getting pregnant and you want to get pregnant, there are steps that can be taken. You go to a company that deals with fertility issues. This is an amazing website. We can look at both male and female contributions to infertility and what can be done to help you. Okay, here's a classic example of testing the female fertility, and that is to see, okay, how many eggs do you have and can we push them through? All right, so before you do in vitro fertilization, and this right here is in vitro fertilization right here, where we're going to extract some of your eggs, put them into a petri dish, take the donor sperm, throw it into the petri dish, and get a bunch of embryos. Okay, with those embryos, you let them go through cell division. They grow to the 8-cell stage, and then we're going to take those embryos, okay, and suck them up and put it into your uterus. Your uterus will be primed based on hormone therapy, so that hopefully those embryos will embed in the lining of the uterus. That's in vitro fertilization. Costs you, like I said, maybe 15 grand a pop, 20 grand a pop. It's not cheap, okay? Before you do that, though, we can make you a super ovulator. And this is also a way to find out how well your ovaries are working, okay? So what we could do, and this is kind of, I give you a nice kind of tour through this, okay? We can give you this drug called clomiphene. And this is what a lot of women, this is the first thing they do in terms of fertility treatment, okay? What is clomiphene? Clomiphene is a compound that blocks the action of estrogens up here in your brain, okay? So normally what's happening is your brain is producing a hormone that runs to the pituitary, and the pituitary then starts pumping out these two hormones. This one's called follicle stimulating hormone, okay? So I have this up here in the verbiage right here. So it's called follicle stimulating hormone, or FSH. FSH stimulates the follicles to grow. They grow more, meaning more numerous cells, bigger cells, okay? And these cells then produce estrogen. And then estrogen goes running out of your ovaries, goes down to your uterus and says, you do cell division. You're creating this perfect home for the egg to go and to produce a baby. Right? It goes up here and says, we need to now jack the system up so you're producing maximum amount of milk so that when you have a child, it's game on, okay? Alrighty, so, and that's what the follicle stimulating hormone does. So we come back down here. So this FSH is causing, we see right here, the follicle to grow. This is all cell division, the egg right in there, and then you release it and it goes and embeds in your uterus, okay? And then it retracts right here, okay? That's the cycle, all right? If you get pregnant, then your uterus and the fetus are producing hormones that will save the system, okay? Alrighty, So what happens? Why did this thing cycle and then burst? At the very end, your brain is sensing all this estrogen, and it then will produce luteinizing hormone, okay? And it causes the burst. So what we can do is give you clomiphene, and clomiphene causes not just one of these to go through, but 10 of these to go through. It's a way to check how many eggs you have that at any one point in time can go through the system if primed correctly, all right? And then you stop the clomiphene, okay? And boom, you then cause multiple eggs to be released. So this is how, when you do this type of fertility treatment, you might have multiple births. You might have twins, triplets, quadruplets. Remember the octomom, that kind of stuff, okay? All right. So, yeah, so that's the whole drill right there. So this is IVF right here. This is the kind of reality. We could be looking at fertility. I already told you that male fertility drops, but when we look at the quality of sperm in men, and this is just kind of statistical. The best way to look at it is just these guys right here, okay? The ones that are the highest right here. And what we see that when you're young, sometimes the quality of sperm is not great, and then it gets better, and then it takes off, okay? And what we see here is we see lots and lots of issues in terms of the mental health well-being of your offspring, depending on your sperm. Here we are out here greater than 45 years of age. Here we are here at 20 years of age, okay? All righty, and we see this increase in substance abuse, increase in clinical depression and suicide attempts, increase in bipolar disease based on the age of the father, increase in autism, increase in ADHD, on and on. Okay, so now you've been educated on all this, guys. Give us your thoughts in your discussion. All right, that's it for another week. Okay, all right, peace, guys. We get back on the saddle, and the Trojans are playing again next week. Let's give it all. All right, take care, guys.